Hi, I'm John Atack,
I'm Sam Atack.
and this is an Opening Minds presentation showing you how to spot human predators. And Sam has a little list, and he's going to give us the first point from the list right now.
Human predators are mean.
Human predators are mean. It does seem the silliest thing to say, doesn't it? Mean people are mean. But sometimes we're too busy offering excuses and looking on the good side of people. And if somebody's mean to you and they continue to be mean to you, they're mean. And it probably means they're a predator. And a predator is somebody who preys on others, pretty much the same way that a lion preys on zebras. And we're going to get here into some little details that show you how to recognise these behaviours.
Predators are utterly selfish.
Predators are utterly selfish. Again, seems obvious, doesn't it, really? But they're not. They don't care about you. They care only and entirely about themselves. No matter what little stories they tell you, they're selfish.
Predators pretend friendship and love, but they feel absolutely nothing for others.
Yeah, they can be. Predators can be extremely good at pretending that they like you, but you have to watch them in those unguarded moments, and you'll find that, well, they don't love anybody. They don't love themselves either. You know, it's not the idea of a selfish person who loves only themselves. They don't know how to love. That's what makes them treat all other people as prey.
Predators are charming and good at flattery, but they don't mean a single word of it.
They do not mean a single word of it. Flattery is insincere praise. It's where people make things up to make you feel good about yourself so that they can pull you in. Charm is, there are people who are naturally charming and friendly, and that's a good thing and a quality that we should encourage. But predators learn how to charm you and find your weak points and get you to do what they want.
Predators brag and boast and make up outrageous lies. When challenged, they blame others.
They'll go on about how great they are and all of the wonderful things they've done, and it's usually just fluff. When you check it, you'll find that they've exaggerated what they have actually done, and they've claimed other people's triumphs and victories as their own. If you find them out, then they'll say that this is somehow somebody else's fault, that or you misheard them, or so get it in writing, get it in handwriting in their own blood, so that you can prove with fingerprints and thumbprints all over it. You'll find that they just glibly go, "Oh well, you didn't hear me properly," or what have you. Be careful.
Predators don't feel anxiety or fear.
This is a fundamental characteristic. The rest of us have a hormone called cortisol that helps to wake us up in the morning, but also makes us feel anxious when we've got too much of it. It's good to feel anxious. It's good to realise that something could be dangerous for you to do and to withdraw from doing it. I think that, when that comes to fear, this is a very strong thing, because those of us who are pro-social do feel fear. We expect that other people will. But occasionally you'll meet somebody who will just do things which appear to be possibly brave or courageous, but they're actually foolish. And it's because they don't feel it. There's no cortisol, they're not reacting to it.
Predators are impulsive and easily bored. They demand thrills and take dangerous risks. They enjoy pushing others into taking dangerous risks too.
Predators are impulsive. They, just on the spur of a moment, will decide they're going to do something and off they go. They take risks. Again, because they don't feel fear, they are quite willing to take risks. The most difficult part of this is that they're the sort of people who will make you take risks. There's a story that Hugh Milne, who was Rajneesh, Osho the Buddha, Bhagwan, the supreme god, as he called himself modestly. His bodyguard, Hugh Milne, wrote a very good book about him, and he went and found out about his childhood, and he found that There was a story about Rajneesh as quite a young boy persuading one of his friends to cross a high wire, and the boy fell to his death. Now, this is the kind of behaviour you can expect. If somebody pushes you to do something and you don't want to do it, then no is a complete response. You don't have to justify why you don't want to do something. You can just say, no, I'm not going to do that. So no is a complete sentence in this case.
Predators are bullies with explosive tempers.
Yeah, there are also people who have anger management problems, and with anything on the list for predators, there are times when somebody will normally respond in this way. But people who just explode, when the server comes to the table and there are only 2 pieces of ice in the glass and there should be 3, and they shout, burn them down to the ground. This person is probably a predator, and even if they aren't, why are you hanging out with them?
Yeah. Predators enjoy humiliating people.
I think he's going blind. He's like, oh, God, where's the list gone? It's in great big type as well. That's the sort of thing that predators do. They enjoy humiliating people, you see. They'll pick on your faults and then make it public, just as I've done now. You'll feel ashamed about this.
I do, yeah.
But for months to come.
Rest of my life.
Rest of your life.
Yeah.
Which may be very short.
Hopefully.
If you don't get this right, obviously, no, really, sorry folks. Predators, they really get a kick out of putting other people down. Now, again, sometimes constructive criticism, like telling your son that he's going blind, can be mistaken for a predatory remark. You add the whole list up, you look at the points together, and you assess a person, based upon what is here.
Predators hate it if anyone else has power or is praised. For the predator, life is a competition, and they want to win.
Predator, life is a competition, and they want to win. Now, one of the problems of being selfish is that you don't get a good feeling when other people triumph in life. It's like, why are you saying that about her? I'm much prettier than she is. Or these narcissistic, self-involved people, it really puts them off if anybody else, gets any glory. So watch out for that.
Predators weaken people with insults and put-downs.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is a commonplace. And again, if you've got somebody in your life who's forever putting you down, telling you how useless you are, then you need to get a life, go out and find some proper people, some friends, some people who are supportive. The insults and put-downs, that can become quite elaborate. There's a process called triangulation, which we'll doubtless talk about at great length somewhere else, where the predator will come along and tell you nasty things about somebody else, and they'll be telling the somebody else nasty things about you. So it's a way of controlling people and weakening people. There's also a form called gaslighting, which we will, again, doubtless talk about at some length elsewhere. And with gaslighting, you're interfering with a person's memory. You're saying, no, that's not what happened. You didn't leave your spectacles there. You put them here. You get the person to disbelieve their own memory, their own sense of self. That's gaslighting, and a typical practice for predators.
Predators are cunning and manipulative.
There's a common mistake that such people are more intelligent than the rest of us. They aren't. Their intelligence is confined to cunning and manipulation, so they can see how to trick you. But because they also tend to be rather lazy people, they won't usually have that much of an education. Often their education comes from, the boy's own book of skills or what have you, that they read condensed things because their attention span can be quite short, because they're impulsive, because they want to be up and doing something. So they don't tend to be, though you do get highly educated predators, it's not impossible, it's just that they're about the same as the rest of us. But they're very sharp at ways of hurting other people, at ways of making your life a misery, and so they are to be avoided.
Predators lie easily and think nothing of breaking a promise.
They do. It's as if they have no sense of truth. We watched Mean Streets the other week with Robert De Niro in as a character called Johnny, or Johnny Boy. And he's like, yeah, I'll give you the money back tomorrow. Of course I'll give you the money back tomorrow. And he ends up in a rather bad condition by the end of the film, I'm afraid, and drags his poor friend Harvey Keitel into it as well. Somebody who just like, how could you disbelieve me? I'm always honest. You can trust me. I'm a confidence trickster. So watch out for that one too.
Predators are without conscience. They do not feel remorse or guilt.
This is a fundamental characteristic, and the way that so-called psychopaths were first identified in the 19th century was that they just didn't seem to care what they'd done to anybody. Things that were considered by the rest of us to be horrible, the thieving, setting fire to people's houses, stabbing people, these kind of things, they just do it. It's like, well, so what? They deserved it. They don't have that sense.
Predators often boast about the harm they've done to other people.
They do, and it can be horrible to listen to. I sat in on a conversation where a chap was talking about he'd gone for a job interview and he'd spent, poured his heart out to this guy that how badly he needed a job and all of this. And at the end of it, the guy said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you the job. And a couple of years later, he was interviewing people for work, and who should come along but the guy who'd interviewed him. And so he said he sat him down and he got him to talk about the misery in his life and how short of money he was and everything and anything he could. And then at the end said, I'm not going to give you the job. And a couple of people listening to this laughed as if it were funny to get revenge in this way. And revenge is a key idea to predators. They're often driven their whole lives by getting somebody back because they looked at them in a funny way, or something like that. It can be very strange.
Predators are parasites. They are lazy and live off others, giving as little as possible in return.
Yeah. And let's not get this confused with the artistic temperament. There are people who do things that mean that they don't make a lot of money. But they're people who work hard, traveling musicians, all sorts of artists will actually take something up as a vacation because it means something to them. They're not predatory. It's the guy that sits around and really doesn't do very much other than emit gas while talking. Hot air, let's say. I know the word gas means something different to Americans to we British people, so I'm sorry about that. I apologise for bringing that into the conversation. It's brought the tone down horribly. They make a lot of noise about projects that they're going to do, about things that are going to happen. But when it comes down to it, when you're doing the washing up, they won't do the drying. They, unless they are trying to trick you in some way into, they can emulate, mimic any behaviour. But for the most part, you'll find that they have big dreams, get rich quick schemes, and they do very little other than borrow people's money and then borrow more money and don't pay it back and promise that they'll pay it back tomorrow, and along they go, causing havoc as they go.
Predators are control freaks, stopping others from taking control of anything if they can.
Yeah, microcontrol is a definite aspect of the predator, that everything must be under their control. I think that's a kind of, safety mechanism that if anything slips out of control, something might come and get them. So they will control things. I was told that, in fact, Homer Shomer gave testimony that when he was on one of Ron Hubbard's little flotilla of ships in the Mediterranean, Hubbard was the creator of Scientology, that Hubbard would actually check the menus every day. Now, you got hundreds of people involved here, but he'd be making sure that the menus were right. And as these poor people were living on rice and beans, or beans and rice, those were the two menu choices, however long, it seemed a bit strange. But he wanted, he wrote a thing about how to put flowers in a vase or a vase, as Americans say. And you've got to be careful not to bang the vase against the faucet, which is what the Americans say for what we call a tap. It's very confusing, this multilingual society we live in. But you get down to the micro detail, everything has to be controlled.
Predators force petty rules on others, rules that are impossible to follow.
There are urgent and imperative things that you have to do. So, if you point the toothpaste tube slightly off east, then you get shouted at, the explosive temper. You know how much it upsets me to have the toothpaste pointing in the wrong direction. And the rules become completely overwhelming because they will then change from one day to the next. And they'll gaslight you. So when you say, but you said you wanted it pointing to the east, they'll say, I never said that. I said north-northeast.
Predators boast about tricking other people.
They'll talk about the harm they've done. They'll talk about conning people. And the amazing thing is that until you really register this, and I've met a lot of people like this through my life, one way or another, and I've, when I was a younger man, I'd be kind and considerate towards them, and then I'd find out that my wallet had been emptied, and that did literally happen once, by the way. And the guy eventually went to prison for it, along with about 30 other offences he'd committed. But I used to be, I'd be befriended by these people, and they're out to get what they can get. And one of the things is they'll tell you about the horrible things they've done. When somebody's telling you they've done horrible things, realise they're probably going to do horrible things to you if they get the chance.
Predators boast about breaking the law.
Comes into the same category as tricking people, but they're proud that whenever they go into a shop or a supermarket, that they lift some lollipops and put them in their pocket. That they have this feeling that taking risks again, not having any fear, that there's something in their code of practice that means that every time you can con somebody, steal something or get away with it, you should. So they are, let's face it, antisocial people. And the world would be a better place if we were aware of them and didn't involve ourselves too much with them. We will talk a little bit about a very important point that has to be tacked on here, which is we're not suggesting that these people should be harmed in any way. Because as soon as you start witch hunting, they'll be in charge of the witch hunting. And so, if somebody is dangerous to other people, violently dangerous to other people, probably all, the most we know is that you lock them up. That doesn't mean that they should be treated with any lack of compassion or there be some presumption that they should be treated like animals. I think animals should probably be treated well. So what do you think? Do you think animals should be treated nicely?
Probably, yeah.
Would you include
Not chickens, though.
Yeah, you see, that's a problem, isn't it? Because I've actually signed a petition recently to make sure that chickens are treated properly, because I don't approve of the way they're killed in some instances.
What about snails?
Snails? I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
This has been... I'm John Atack, and...
I'm not me. I'm Sam Atack. Sorry.
Yeah, and we share the same surname,
Yeah.
by mystical coincidence. And this has been an Opening Minds presentation. You can find an article that I wrote about human predators at openmindsfoundation.org. And I think we have a website and a Facebook page and Instagram and Snap thingy, and please put this out to as many people as you can, because all of the poor little starving No.
Serious.
Be well. Be serious. And hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much indeed.